Okay, we're on the hand with base on the bottom by the Mishnah Masnisan. Megadif ein chayev at sheyafarash Hashem. Somebody who's Megadif means Varech Hashem is how Zal to call it, but he curses Hashem, which is not a good thing to do. And we're going to see in the Mishnah in a second how bad of a thing it is. He's chayev skila, yeah. Yeah, but we're going to see the reaction. You'll see in a second what I mean. He's not chayev until when he does that Isser, he says the Shem Hashem. Let's say somebody says Hashem's name and he says referring to what that person said that he's Mekalel him, Hashem, then that would not be, he'd not be chayiv. Rabbi Shimon Karcha. Rabbi Shimon Karcha says, V'chol yoim, during the entire court case, danas ha'edim b'kinoi, you judge the Edom with the kinoi. In other words, you say to the Edom, what did he say? And he says, Yaka Yasi Asasi. That means he says that I heard Reuven say, Yasi should hit Yasi.
Really, he meant Hashem.
Really, he meant Hashem. But you don't want to say that out. He said it like this or he said it like that. It's a bizayon to say it out so many times. So you don't say it. Rashi explains Yasi, there's a specific reason why they picked Yasi for this kinoi. Because it could be anything they could have used. It could have John Doe, right? It could have been anything. But Yasi is gematria of 86, which is the same gematria as Elikim. And it has 4 letters like the Shem Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei. Nigmar Hadin, but if the din is complete, they never heard the real Edus about this guy, right? Because the Edom never said, he said this and said exactly what he said. Right? So, they can't kill the person based on the Edus that they heard that he said a kinoi, that the Edom said a kinoi.
What's the pseudonym mean?
What was that?
Pseudonym.
Pseudonym.
Yeah, what was that?
Pseudonym. It's a fake name for something else. So they can't kill because they didn't hear the testimony yet. They sent everybody out except the Edom, and they ask the bigger of the Edom, and they tell him, say out specifically what it was that you said. And he says it. And they stand up, they tear their begadim. That's what I was saying, how serious it is. And they don't sew it up again. They leave it like that forever. You don't repair it. And the second and the third, if there's a third aid, they said, I also heard this, and the third one says, I also heard this, and then that's the edus.
So you had to have a saw, right?
You had to have...
Or you just heard two guys heard someone just saying that. Does that have a straw before it gets punished?
The person who's Mavarech Hashem has to get a straw, yeah, for sure.
Anything have aid, you have to always have a straw.
Yeah, except for Eid Muzayim. Okay. Zak the Gemara. Tana, we learned. Achi Varech Shem B'Shem. He has to be Mekalel Hashem with Hashem's name. Rashi means it says, like it said in the Mishnah, Pliny, meaning Hashem, should be Makeh, Pliny, meaning Hashem. How do you know this? Amar Shmuel says, the Amar the Pasuk says, V'neikiv Shem v'goymer, b'nakvei Shem yumas. The Pasuk says like this, V'neikiv Shem Hashem yumas. Somebody who curses the name of Hashem should die. Ragim yirgemu b'ay kala eda. The whole nation should give him skila, which is how we know that it's an Isser skila. It's mafurish in the Pasuk. Kager ka'ezrach, a stranger is like somebody who's a dweller, somebody who lives there. B'nakvei Shem, when he curses the shame of Hashem, he should die. So it said nakvei Shem twice. It said Noikiv Shem Hashem and B'nakvei Shem. Why are we saying it twice? Shmuel says that this is a raya that you have to be mevarach Shem B'Shem. How do you know that the lashon of Noikiv is lashon of being mevarach Hashem, or somewhere saying lashon asagnar means mekalel Hashem? The Pasuk says, Ma Ekaiv, Bilam says to Balak, how can I curse like Kavakel? Hashem didn't curse. Vaz Harte, and the lav is, that tells us what the definition of Naikev is, and the lav that says you're not allowed to do this, the Pasuk that we just quoted is the Einish. It says, Ragim Yergmu by Kala Eda, that says Einish. Where's the lav? The lav would be from Mehacha, Leikim, Leisikalo. Pasuk says, a different Pasuk says that, you're not allowed to curse Hashem. The Ema, Frak the Gemara of Ema Mivrasu, maybe you're mistranslating the word Naikev. Maybe it means like piercing, like stabbing, like the Pasuk says. Vayikav Churba Daltai. The Pasuk says that Yadu the Kohen took a box and he basically made it into a tzedakah box, and it says he was
So what,
naked
you're
a
not saying
whole.
Hashem's name out?
So no, so then the isser would be that you're not allowed to cut a hole through Shem Hashem. In other words, split the Shem Hashem that's written. You're not allowed to cut it through. The azharte and the lav would be not from the kim loisakalo. Mehafta would be over here, a totally different isser. Avadtem es shemam. It says by avodah zarah you should destroy their name, but by Hashem the pasuk is like sasim kein Hashem lakechem. You should not destroy Hashem's name. So the But the Gemara is saying, so maybe v'noikev means a totally different thing. It means this. It means stabbing or making a hole in the Shem Hashem. Gemara says, and this, by the way, l'sasem kein Hashem l'keichem is the reason why we have an issur of erasing Hashem's name.
Oh, because
You're erasing it, right? Nothing to do with nakai, but this is how. That's why the Gemara brings this pasuk, because that's actually the makar for that halacha. Gemara says, no, you can't say that that's pshat in v'noikev, because otherwise, then if that's the case, why did the pasuk have to say v'noikev twice? Being a shame b'shem v'leka. We said you have to have one name being noikev the other name. What does that mean? One name is making a hole in the other name. How do you have, what's the two names here? Right? You're talking about the guy took a knife and stuck it in, right? What's the noikev shame b'shem? So therefore, Gemara wants to say, therefore it must be that v'noikev means, like we said before, it means cursing. It doesn't mean making a hole,
splitting it, like
making
erasing
stabbing it. Yeah. Practically Gemara, no. Maybe I'll tell you a scenario where it's two. Shem b'shem. You know what the issur is? You take a cloth, one cloth says the Shem Hashem, you take another cloth underneath it and it says the Shem Hashem, and the person pierces through both of them at once. That's Shem b'shem. It says no. That is not piercing through both at once. First you do one, then it keeps on going, and you do the other one, right? So you don't have. It's still not Shem b'shem. It's two separate actions. And you're doing it in 1 second, but it's two separate things.
The person, besides cursing, the person just raised Hashem's name. It's not the same isser.
Not the same isser.
Right.
It's going to be the isser of l'sasim kein Hashem l'keichem, and it's isser, but it's not skila. Practically more of the aim of the chayik shem apum sakino vazaba. I'll tell you a case where it could be shem b'shem. You take the dagger, a knife, and you carve in the Shem Hashem on the knife, on the side of the knife, on the blade.
The knife or
on the blade? On the blade.
On the blade, okay.
And you use that knife to pierce through a paper that has the Shem Hashem written on it. So that's Shem b'Shem. Okay? So you could still say then that Neikiv means a lashon of making a hole, not making, not cursing. Where it says, no, it's not the shame that's making the hole, it's the sharpness of the knife that's making the hole. Fine, so where it says, fine, I agree it cannot be making a hole. Ema prushish mehu. Maybe it doesn't mean making a hole, but maybe it also doesn't mean being mevarech Hashem. Maybe it means saying out Hashem's name in the open, saying it specific, saying it the same lashon Shem HaMefarash, right? The name that you have. The Kohen Gadol says the Shem HaMefarash. He said it out, right? So maybe you're saying it out, and one person is not a Kohen Gadol. He's not allowed to say the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei or the Shem of Hashem straight out. So maybe that's what he's doing. The ksiva, you can
That's not really cursing Hashem, though.
Not cursing.
It's
We're trying to figure out what the lashon of noikev is. The pasuk says, "V'noikev Shem Hashem Isimas." What does it mean, v'noikev? What's noikev? So first the Gemara says it means Berachas Hashem, like we said a little Pashim Shat. Where it says no, maybe it means making a lashon of a hole, a nekev, right? And then the Gemara says it can't be that. So maybe it's a lashon of Perushishme. You're saying out the Shem Hashem, saying it straight out. The ksiv, like we have another place where you use that lashon of the same shirish to mean straight out. The ksiv, like the pasuk says, the pasuk says that Moshe and Aaron took the people who were picked by their name. So over there, it means that they were said straight out. Their name was said straight out. And then what would the Isser be? The Isser is not Leisasikim Hashem L'keichem, and it's not Elikim Leisakalo. V'azarase, the Isser will be Mehach from over here. It's Hashem L'keichatira. You should have fear for Hashem. You have to treat Hashem with respect. That's what Hashem L'keichatira is. Just like you don't say V'havdil, but you don't say your father's name straight out. You don't say the Rebbe Hashem's name straight out. So maybe that's what V'noikiv Shem Hashem Ma'isim. Unless somebody who says the Shem Hashem straight out, he's going to get skila. Gemara says no, can't be that either. Two reasons. Chada, one reason to be in a shem b'shem v'leka. You need shem b'shem, and you don't have. What's the scenario where you have one name to another name? If you're saying that the name means you're saying it straight out. Va'oid havile azhara sasei, and besides, it's an asara sasei. An ashara is a lav, means don't do this. Over here it says it's Hashem Elokecha Tira, fear Hashem. That's an asay. That's not a lav. You can't learn out an einish from an asay. Ashara sasei lo yishmei azhara. Ashara sasei is not called an ashara. So until the Vivosema, basically the Gemara says we have to say the only pshat that we could say in V'noikev Shem Hashem is talking about Berachas Hashem, and we learned it after the pasuk Mak Ekov Lekavakel that Bilam said, "How can I curse Hashem to Klal Yisrael? Hashem doesn't want me to curse." Yeah. So now the Gemara says, "I'll tell you another pshat to tell us that how we know." That it's talking about cursing. The Gemara says, and if you want, you could say, "May Amar Kol." The pasuk says, "Vayikoi vayikalal." The pasuk is that by the parsha of the person who was mevarach Hashem, it says, "Vayikoi ben Isha Yisraelis," the son of the Israeli woman cursed es Hashem, vayikalal, and he cursed him. So it says Vayikov and Vayikalal, and he got Misa. So you see, when it says Vayikov, that means cursing because it's Vayikov and Vayikalal. This is what the guy did. So the Gemara says, "Lameimra de Noikiv Klalahu." You're telling me Noikiv is a klala? No. V'dilma adav tarvayu. Maybe Noikiv is one thing and klala is another thing. So when it says Vayikov Vayikalal, it means he said two different things. And Noikiv means, like we said before, Prusha, that you're saying the Shem Hashem straight out. So the two things. One is he said the Shem Hashem straight out, and two is he's Mevarach Hashem. So maybe that's the thing. You need to do both things to be Chayav Misa. Where it says, no, don't think that that's the case. The pasuk says, Hashem says to Moshe, take the Makalal out and give him skila. It doesn't say take out the person who is Noikiv and Makala. So you see, it's one thing. And the pasuk says, Noikiv, and it's Mafarash, that means Klala. Okay. Now we're going to go into a little tangent over here. What's the halacha by guy who's Makala Mavarachas Hashem, and then we're going to go into a much longer tangent, which will basically be the entire Owen phase about the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach.
Guys on Hashem.
We're about to find out. Okay, Zak the Gemara.
Or a person on Hashem. He's angry. He's upset.
Some people have very strong feelings about Hashem.
God, yeah.
I have a friend, and he was wrong. It's not the right thing to do, but it's a shtickle godless. He was angry at Hashem, and he didn't daven for 3 months.
From Rebel from Guy?
Huh?
Rebel from Guy?
He's a Baal Tshuva family. Okay. Interesting fellow. Not your standard yeshiva guy. Wow. But the point is, what happened? He got over it, and he started davening again. He wasn't married then. He's married now. Married with one kid. And he's a good guy, right? But he had an issue with Hashem. He was angry at Hashem. He felt that Hashem had wronged him. So this was his way of getting back. Is it a mature thing to do? No. Is it the right thing to do? No. But he has but to me it said this guy has a very strong relationship with Hashem. That he can get so angry at Hashem that this is what exactly. Right? So people have a very strong relationship with Hashem. And this somebody was very upset at Hashem. It's still the Torah saying that a person has to have Elokim Leisakal. You're not allowed to do that. So Zak the Gemara. Tan Rabban learned. Ish. The pasuk says, "The Bnei Yisrael to daber lemer ish ki yakala lelakav." A person who is makal Hashem, v'nasachet, he gets zaver. So it says ish. Atam lemer ish. Why does it have to say ish twice? It says ish twice. It could have just said ish. The Rabbis said the Gechavim Shemizharon al Berachas Hashem ki Yisrael, to be marved that a guy is also chayiv in Berachas Hashem just like he did.
Don't even give us what?
What?
Don't even give us what? Don't do that.
I think the Gemara is going to say, I don't remember for sure, but I think the Gemara is going to say before and later, I think it might be even on tomorrow's daf, that a guy doesn't need Asra. I think the halachas about Misa by a guy are way more chamer. We're going to see in today's daf and tomorrow's daf are way more chamer than by a yid. So the Gemara says,
who are you to get involved?
This is talking about a situation where the Yidden had the rulership and be able to do that. And Bez Hashem, one day, Mashiach will come, we'll then have that opportunity. But until such point as the Bezdin stopped having the power in their Yisrael, they weren't able to do this. And we know that even during Churban Bayis Sheni, you already had probably even parts of Churban Bayis Rishon. It wasn't. There were by Rishon, they weren't able to do it. I don't know. In the time of Shlomo Melech, in the time of Tzidkiyahu Melech, these kind of situations when the Yidden were in charge, they would punish a guy for doing this kind of thing. So the Gemara says the Ish is coming to tell you that your marba that a guy gets is muzar, has the Isser of Birchas Hashem just like a Yid. However, there's a difference. A Yid who does Birchas Hashem gets skila. A guy is going to get saif. Shekal misa amur b'vnei noyach ein el b'saif. Because the Torah only says, Rashi explains, misa by a guy once. It says, V'shefech dam ha'adam ba'adam dama yishafech. His blood shall be spilled. What does his blood shall be spilled mean? His blood shall be spilled means he gets his head cut off, and then his blood is spilled.
No matter what he does, that's
so whatever the guy does that's chayiv misa, he's going to get the misa of saif. Track the Gemara, this that you're telling me that you learn out from ish to be marbe that a Levi Chaver gets misa for Birchas Hashem. You're telling me you learned that out from this pasuk of ish. Mehachanafka. We learn that from a totally different pasuk. What's the pasuk? The pasuk is the pasuk in the second parak of Bereshis. And this is when Hashem tells Adam Arishan not to eat from the Eitz Hadas. The pasuk says, "Vayitzav Hashem Elokim al Adam." Hashem, God commanded man, Adam Harishan, lamer to say, "V'kol eitz hagan achal teichel." From all the trees in the garden, you could eat. Okay. Right. So now the Gemara is going to bring that whole pasuk down in a few minutes. But over here, the Gemara says, "You're telling me that you learned it out from," and the Gemara is going to darshan each one of the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach from this pasuk. So, back to Gemara, we learned it out from that pasuk. It says, "Vayitzav Hashem." Hashem is Birchas Hashem. When it says the word Hashem, that's coming to tell you that a guy has an Isser of Birchas Hashem. How can you say that you learn that from Ishesh? Rav Yitzchak Nafcha, and I'm sorry, just to point it out, it's probably obvious, but just to point it out, this was talking about Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon wasn't Jewish, right? Hashem created him, but he wasn't Jewish.
He had a bris milah?
Probably because of I don't know. I don't remember. I seem to remember that there might have been a Gemara about that, but I don't remember.
No, bris. Ram was the first person with a bris.
Right, he's referring to the command with the breast.
Adam wasn't a Yid?
Adam wasn't Yid. No, Adam wasn't Yid. Right, Adam had the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach. I'm not saying that Adam wasn't incredible. We don't have the words to describe the Ruchni Istek of Adam Arishan. We don't have that words, but he wasn't Jewish, right? So he didn't have, and it's not to say that he didn't keep all the mitzvahs, right? For sure, we know he kept Shabbos, right? Right, I believe we know he kept Shabbos, right? So, but there was no Torah then. But it says that these are the mitzvahs that Hashem gave Adam Arishan. So the Gemara says. So if we learn it out from Adam Arishan, then why do you need Ishesh? It's coming to be Marbe Kinuyin. Kinuyin means a name that's used for Hashem, but not one of the seven mitzvahs she'enin mechakim, not Shakai or I'm sorry, I take it back.
Subordinate name.
Rashi learns that they mean the other shemus of Hashem, like Elikim, Shakai, Tzvakais, things like that. And to say that a person's chayiv on that a guy is chayiv on those that if a guy is mevarach Hashem using one of those other names, he's going to be chayiv also, because from the pasuk by the Rishon it only says the Shem Hashem. It says Vayitzav Hashem, right? So you would know Hashem. How do you know the other shemus? Even though the word right after Hashem is Elikim, Rashi says that we use that pasuk Elikim for Avodah Zarah, so you can't use that to be married with the Kinuyim. So from Ish you're married with the Kinuyim, that a guy who's Mevarach is Hashem using, let's say, the Shem Shakai or Tzakais or something like that is just as Chayiv as if he used the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. And the Gemara says this is Valiyud Rab Meir. This is according to Rab Meir. The Tanya learned in a brayso. Ish ki kala lekav v'nasachet. The pasuk says a man twice who is mekal lekav, he gets his avera. Matam lem. What's it coming to tell you? Like for Nemar v'nekiv shem Hashem ma'isumas. We already have a different pasuk. Someone who's nekiv shem Hashem. He's versus the name of Hashem. He's going to die. The Gemara says, I'll tell you why you need both psukim. Fishin Nemar v'nekiv shem ma'isumas noch yechayev el Hashem hamiyuchad. Sit bilvad. Since it says the pasuk v'nekiv shem Hashem elokach yumas, I would think, and over the v'nekiv shem Hashem yumas, and there it only says the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. I would think that only by that kind of thing, that's where a person will get punished. But Menayin Rabbis Kol Kinuyin, how do you know all the Kinuyin? Tamaleimer Ish Ki Yikala Lekav Mikol Makam. It says a person when he curses his God, however he does it. Divra Amir, that's what Amir says. V'cham Meimrim. And sorry, let me just add one thing. No, let me not add one thing. The Chum say, Hashem HaMiyuchad b'misa v'al kinuyim b'azhara. That the Shem HaMiyuchad, he gets misa, he gets what do you call it? Skila. V'al kinuyim b'azhara. But on the kinuyim, is going to be with Sarah just a lav. He's not the Kunuyim, the other Shemus Hashem like him, Shakai, and so on, is not going to be chayiv as much. And Rashi says, I'm sorry, I'm mixing up two Rashis. Fine.
Using Hashem with a subordinate name, it's the same idea. Saying the only problem is a real name. When we say a subordinate name like something less than the regular name, is still chayiv.
You're still chayiv b'azhara, but not with misa.
Right.
Okay. And then the Gemara says, "Upligu Rav Meisha," and what Rav Yitzchak Nafcha said that the pasuk is coming to be marbe kinuyim according to Rav Meir is mashma that the Rabbanan who argued with Rav Meir in the brayso before that Rav Yitzchak Nafcha said is mashma that ben noach hu pater on kinuyim. I missed one piece. I was looking in the Rashi before for this, and I looked in the wrong Rashi. Let me just fill in one thing. The Gemara says that Rav Meir says that from the pasuk of Ishki Kalalekav tells you that all the kinuyim are included, right?
Yeah.
The piece that I missed was that once Rav Meir says that, Rashi says that the Ish comes to say that now the Kachavim and Yisraelim, Yidden and Goyim, are the same by all those kinuyim. So now from Rav Meir we know that a guy will be chayiv in kinuyim also, and therefore you have one pasuk for by Hashem, by other Mishal to tell you the Shem Hashem, and the pasuk Yeshish to tell you the kinuyim. That's what Rav Meir would hold. And then the Chacham would say that on the Shem HaMiyuchad b'misa, that the Yid or the guy gets misa, al kinuyim b'azhara, and the kinuyim he gets an azhara, which is mashma that according to Rabbanan, ben noach will be pater on the kinuyim. So now the Gemara says that this Rav Yitzchak Nafcha argues on Rav Meisha. He argues on Rav Meisha. Rav Meisha said, Ben Noach shebirchas Hashem b'kinuyim l'Rabbanan chayev. Ben Noach, who is mevarachas Hashem using the kinui, according to Rabbanan he's chayev. But according to Rav Yitzchak Nafcha, according to Rabbanan he would be pater. It's not a common name. It comes up other times also, but it's not a common name. So the Rabbanan hold, according to the Ramesha, that the guy would also have an azhara for kinuyin, and even though according by a yid he would not get misa according to the Rabbanan, but by a guy he would have it because it says kager ezrach. And I think we're going to see more about this on Amud Beis. They come to tell you that a guy is chayiv even by kinuyin. But now the Rabbanan says, no, the Gemara says right over here. I'm sorry. My time why the Amarkad the pasuk says kager ke'ezrach, ger ve'ezrach hu debinan b'nak v'shem. When it says in the pasuk, it says v'neikiv shem Hashem Yisuma, somebody who's cursed in the name of Hashem should die. Ragim yirgmu b'kol ha'eda, the whole nation should stone him. Kager ke'ezrach, like a ger toshav is like a regular person, like a regular yid. So even a ger toshav is chayiv. But the diuk is avlay v'kechavim afilu b'kinoi. So they need b'nakvei shem yumas. They need to say the actual shem Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei. But for a guy, even a kinoi would be chayiv. So he's being much more machmir Rav Meisha than the Rabbanan. Fine, that's the three shittas. The Gemara of Rav Meir, Rav Meir doesn't need Kager Ezrach to tell you that a Yid and a Goy are the same, because he learns it out from Ishesh, to be Marbe, a Goy. So how does he know, what does he do with Kager Ezrach? Gemara says, Ger Ezrach B'skila. That, he's saying that a Ger and an Ezrach, a Ger Toshav and a regular Yid will get Skila. But a Goy will get Sayif. Because Salkadai Techamina, I would think Hoyel this Rabu, since I'm including Goyim to be Chayiv for Kinuyim, according to Rameir, because it says Ish, they'd be in this Rabbah completely, and they're just like a Yid, and they get Skila also. Kamash Malon, that a Goy still doesn't get Skila for Berchas Hashem. The Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, he said that according to the Rabbanon, when it says that the Rabbanon would say that a guy is patur by a kinoi, so then what does he use Kager Ezrach for? What did the Rabbanon use Kager Ezrach for? The Gemara, Ger ve'ezrach would be in shem b'shem. A ger and an ezrach need shem b'shem. That says we learn it from that pasuk. V'neikiv shem Hashem Kager ke'ezrach b'nak v'shem. They need shem b'shem, like we said in the beginning of the Gemara. But a guy is much rechamer. Even if he doesn't do shem b'shem, he just is mevarach Hashem. You could argue that certain things that people say, things like that are pretty close. Pretty close. I'm not sure exactly, but pretty close. Yeah. So doesn't need shem b'shem. So then, ish lamali. What do you need? Ish according to the Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, according to Rabbanan. The Retorah Klash Mini Adam. He's not derish that. He doesn't need that ribui because he has kager. Because he's saying that a guy and a yid are not exactly the same. Because kinuyim, a guy won't be included. Okay. This is the parasha. This we just said about Berchas Hashem. Now the Gemara is going to take the other turn I told you about and start talking about. Look, we said that a guy is going to be chayiv in Berchas Hashem because Shev Mitzvah Pnei Noach. Let's hear a little more about Shev Mitzvah Pnei Noach, and we're going to also find out that Berchas Hashem is not so pashut if it's part of Shev Mitzvah Pnei Noach. We took it on as a Muslim pshita that it is, right?
Maybe it's not so chomer.
We're going to see. Gemara says, Tana Rabbanan, the Rabbanan learned Sheva mitzvahs nistava b'nei Noach. The Bnei Noach were in Stava. They had a command when Hashem commanded them 7 mitzvahs.
The average guy has no idea what you're talking about.
The average guy is no. There's something called Noahides. I actually thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but there are thousands. There are some communities. I'll tell you a story. I once went to the OU to visit my cousin, who is the Weber Rebbe. The OU has 2 Talmidei Chacham that they pay to answer shaylos, and they get shaylos all over the world, thousands and thousands of shaylos. Huh?
Call the office or something?
It's an email. If you go to the website, the OU's website, you can
find any question you want.
Any question you want. They get literally tens of thousands of questions. And he told me some of his all-time questions. One question was, he got an email from somebody that the guy's father died. And the person was a Noahide. and he was in the process. He wanted to convert to Judaism.
Son.
The father.
Father, before he died.
Before he died. Now, where should he bury his father?
Is it Jew or is it no?
Huh? It's a Noahide. Pashtus could have a lot like a Ger Teshav. He can't get buried, or a Ger Teshav, I think, if I remember correctly what he explained to me, and he can't get buried with Goyim. So he didn't know what to do.
I don't know about this guy's email. I never heard of it till now.
So he did a little research, and he found the Noahide. Yeah, he found the Noahide community, and he got in touch with them, and they said, "Sure, we'll be happy to take care of the burial arrangements." Huh?
He lives near him, whatever.
I don't know if they lived near him or not, but they were happy to take care of the arrangements, and they found the basic chorus for him. There are people who do this. Well, most Goyim, it's absolutely true. They don't know about the Shevet Bnei Noach. But then again, Nebuch, most Yidden don't know the Seres HaDibros. My father told me that. We'll have it soon. My father told me that when he had many people tell him, "Yeah, I'm a good Jew. I do the Ten Commandments." And my father would say to them, "You do the Ten Commandments. You keep the Ten Commandments. What are they?" And none of them could list them all, right? So it's important to make sure that I'm not sure every from Yid could list the Ten Commandments either. So we shouldn't make fun, but I'm saying that this is an important thing to know. So for a guy, you should know the Shevet Bnei Noach, and a Yid should know the Seres HaDibros. Tan Rabban, the Rabbanan learn Sheva mitzvahs nistavu Bnei Noach. There are 7 mitzvahs that Bnei Noach were commanded. Number 1, dinin, to make batei dinim, to make a judgment system of law. Uberchas Hashem, what we were just discussing right now.
Who teaches these Noahides those laws?
I guess they learn it themselves. I'm not very familiar with the Noahide community. Okay. Avodah Zarah is doing Avodah Zarah. Gili Arayas, Shvichas Dam and murder. The Gazel stealing. The Aver Menachai and eating. Number 7 is eating an Aver from a Chai. Pull off the leg of an animal and eat it while it's still alive. Reb Chananya ben Gamliel, or this Gersa Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, he says, Afal Adam Minachai. It's not only Aver Minachai, it's also blood from a chai. If a guy siphons off, does a blood draw on an animal, and then drinks that blood while the animal is alive, that's also an Isser according to Reb Chananya ben Gamliel. Rav Chidka says Afal Asiras, castration. If a guy castrates, I'm guessing the Gemara will explain later what what do you call it? What the parameters are.
You're not allowed animals either?
I'm not sure if I was about to say. I'm not sure if it's talking about people or animals or both. But probably the Gemara will talk about it later. What?
It says it might be both.
Says it might be both. Okay.
If you have a cat, you're allowed to neuter a cat?
So a Yid's not allowed to. And I believe, if you're not allowed, it could be you're not allowed to ask a guy to do it either. So if you want to buy a cat, you should buy one from a guy that's already neutered. I think, if I remember correctly. Okay. Reb Shimon says, Afal Kisha. He's a guy who's also chayin, one is nistava not to do Kisha. Rabbi Yossi Aimer, Kol ha'amar b'parashas Kisha, then Noach was Rala. All the dinim that is said in the parasha of Kisha, a guy is commanded not to do. Because the pasuk says a whole string of isurim, and it says that because of these things, isurim, this is why the people in Eretz Canaan were kicked out by Hashem. Right? So you see that it's usher for them to do all these things. Let's see the things. You should not find amongst you somebody who takes his son or daughter through the fire, to do magic of some sort. Ma'inin and menachesh are 2 types of divination, I think. They figure out the future. Mechashiv to do kisha. The chayver is to, I think, ask Shaden maybe. The Shoel of Yadoni to ask a question from an Oven Yadoni. The Derish Al-Nisim to try to communicate with the dead. And the Gemara says, I'm not the Pasuk says, the Pasuk says, because of these Tayevos, Hashem Hashem kicked the Goyim out from Eretz Yisrael from in front of you. So now, what do we see? We see that the Goyim in Eretz Yisrael did all these things, and they got punished for it. Loi anash elam came hizer, and you don't give, Hashem doesn't give an einish unless something is usher already, right? So it must be that all these things are usher for a guy. Klayim also. This is a little cryptic, but this is what it sounds like it's saying. The Gemara is going to explain it later. Rashi says, "Mutarnam de'noyach lilvosh klayim, v'de'noyach are mutar to wear klayim, to wear shatnez, to Israel klayim, and to plant, let's say, wheat and grapes together. The ein asur el bravos behemo varkavasila. They're only asur in breeding together different animal breeds to make like a mule from a donkey and a horse, or varkavasila and grafting a tree, like making what's it called, nectarines from peaches and plums. Right? How do you know this halacha? The halacha they were saying that you have 7 mitzvahs b'nei nayach. What we said at the beginning of this Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, the Amar of the pasuk says, "Vayishtzav Hashem Elokim al Adam." This pasuk said before Hashem commanded to man, they were saying, "Kol eitzagan achal teichal." From all the Eitz Hagan, all the trees of the garden, you should eat. Gan Eden, you should eat. Now we're going to darshan each word. Vayitzav commanded Elu Adinim. This is talking about dinim. V'chein Omer, and we see that tzav is used as lashon for dinim. The pasuk says, "Ki dativ," I know him. I know. Rishon was saying that Avraham Avinu, the man asher yitzav as fun of the gomer, he'll command his sons, and the pasuk continues, "V'speisei achrav," his house after him. V'shamru derech Hashem, they'll do the derech of Hashem. They'll follow in what Hashem's path is. Lasit tzedakah u'mishpat, to do tzedakah and mishpat. Tzedakah and mishpat means bested. Yeah. Now it said Vayitzav. Now it says,
how do they have luchas to learn from? How do they have a paskin?
Well, for dinim, if I'm not mistaken, I'm probably going to see much more about this over the next couple of blocks. But if I'm dinim, I think it could even be as long as there's a system of law. Right, so there's a lot of latitude what the system of law could be. It has to be. It can't be lawless. Right?
Even the American law.
Yeah. Now the pasuk continues. It says Hashem, Vayitzav Hashem. Hashem is Zu Berchus Hashem. This is the Esrei Berchus Hashem. V'chein Omer v'noikev Shem Hashem moisumas. Somebody who curses the name of Hashem should die. Okay. Pasuk says Elikim. Vayitzav Hashem Elikim. Zu Avetz Chachavim. This is talking about Avetz Chachavim. V'chein Omer, and it says V'yeh Lecha Elohim Acherim. You should not be on you any other gods, the pasuk says. So this is from the Seres HaDibros. So you see that when it says Elikim, it's talking about Avodah Zarah. Al Ha'adam, it says Vayitzav Hashem Elikim Al Ha'adam. Hashem commanded on man. What's it mean? Al Ha'adam. Zu Shvichas Dam. This is the Isser of murder. And it says Shefich Dam Ha'adam L'Gomer. Someone who spills the blood of a person. So you see, he uses the same lashon of Ha'adam by murder. Lamar, the pasuk says Hashem said to Adam Lamar, saying, what is that alluding to? Zuki Arayas. This is talking about Arayas. And it says the following pasuk. Lamar, this is the Navi saying, Navi Yirmiyah saying, I imagine it's a mashal. Lamar, would a person send his wife away? She would go from and she'd go to another person, and then the pasuk says, would she return back to him? It would be the adzanis reim rabin yudidznos. So you see the word lamar in the context of arayas. And then it says mikol eitz hagan. It says you could eat from all the trees of the Gan Eden. V'loi gezel, you can eat from here, you're allowed to eat, but you cannot eat from gezel. Because Rashi explains, because the pasuk had to say to Adam Rishon, you're allowed to eat this. That other things you're not allowed to eat. You're not allowed to eat what's not yours.
Because gezel, you say it could be dates.
No. He's saying you could eat all. He's saying the Hashem is saying to Adam Rishon, you could eat from all the Eitz Hagan, right?
Well, right.
Because I'm giving you permission to eat from Eitz Hagan.
Not the Eitz
Hagan. Not the Eitz Hagan, but also not other things. We don't know. In other words, he's saying that there's a concept of ownership, like that there's boundaries. Stuff you could eat, stuff you can't eat. Stuff you could eat, you have permission for. Stuff you can't eat is gezel. Achal toichel. It says the end of the words of the pasuk is you should eat. Rashi says that we're dashing this achal toichel, something that's something that's oimid achila, something that's intended for food, teichel you could eat. But something that's not intended for food, like a live animal, that you can't eat. So that tells us you can't eat Erev Menachai. Ki Asar Rav Yitzchak Tani Efcha. So I'm sorry. So this is Rav Yochanan. It's darshaning. Here's how you learn from this pasuk all 7 of the Sheva Mitzvah. Tani Rav Yitzchak. Ki Asar Rav Yitzchak. When Rav Yitzchak came from Eretz Yisrael, Tani Efcha. He switched around the first two. He said Vayitzav is not dinim. We said it's dinim. He says you have Vayitzachavim, 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 and like him, Zudinin. That's dinim. Now, Pishlaim Elikim, the Gemara says, I understand where it's coming from the second one. I understand Elikim, Zudinim, is Dinim, Diksiv, V'nikra Balabais El Elihim. It says the Balabais comes to Elihim. We learned all the way at the beginning of the Masechta, it means Lashon of Srara. This is what we called Dayanim. But you see, you use the word Elikim by Dayanim. How does the Rav Yitzchak learn that Vayitzav means Avodah Zarah? And for the Gemara, we learn that with two possibilities. Rav Chisda Rav Yitzchak Parabdimi. Rav Chisda and Rav Dimi have an argument over here. Chadamar one says, we learn from the following. Saru Mar Minader Chashet Sivisem. It's talking about the Avera of Avodah Zarah. Yeah, by the Ego. And it says they went away quickly from the derech that I commanded them. And it's talking about Avodah Zarah. So you see, Asul Gomer, they made themselves an Egel Masecha. So you see that Sivisem is used by Avodah Zarah. The Chadamar, the other Mandamer says, Ashek Ephraim, Ratzitz Mishpat. Ephraim is crushed. It's broken of laws. Because it went after the commands, and Rashi over there in the pasuk says the commands of the Baal, the commands of the Avodah Zarah. So you see over here also the Rosh Hashanah in the context of Avodah Zarah. Is there enough between these two shittas? Gemara says, a guy made an Avodah Zarah.
He designed it.
He designed it, he made it, he manufactured it, but he didn't actually bow to it. Gemara says, Lamandi Amar, the first pasuk by the Egel, it says, Asu lahem Egel Masecha, they made him Egel. So, Mishas Asiyah Mechayev, they were chayiv already from when they made it. The action of making it, even before they worshipped it, making it Avodah Zarah is awesome. The Mandiyamar Ki Hayel Halach from the Mandiyamar from the pasuk in Yirmiyah where it says that he went after the Avodah Zarah ad Azul Basro Palachla. It means you have to you're not chayiv until you go after it, meaning you worship it. So until you worship the Avodah Zarah, you won't be chayiv according to the second Mandiyamar.
So if you don't make it for a business or make Avodah Zarah itself in India,
if you're a guy, you're a guy. Right?
This can't do it either.
We're talking about this pasuk is saying from Rav Yitzchak is learning the pasuk by Adam Rishon. He says Vayitzav is Avodah Zarah, right? Yeah. As far as the Yid is concerned, I'm not sure what the answer would be, but I'm saying that from here we're talking about a guy. Okay. Rabbi says, Rabbi has the kasha on this what we just said. We just said that depending on which pasuk you learn from, a guy would be usher in Avodah Zarah either from when he makes it or from when he serves it. In other words, the isser would be when he makes it or further on when he serves it. And if he makes it without serving it, according to one man, will be okay. Amar Rav says, Amar, Akam Shasa Avodah Zarah V'leishtach V'lachayiv. Is there a Mandiyamar who says that a guy who made an Avodah Zarah but did not actually serve it, did not worship, did not bow to it, that he's going to be chayiv? No, he's going to be pater. But you learned in a brayso, and the brayso is going to come up on Dafnit Zayin Amar Aleph. Brayso says the Akam by Goyim. The things that a bezdin of Yisrael kill on them. Ben Noach Muzar Alein. A Ben Noach, he has an azhara on them. He has a law. In Bezdin Shal Yisrael Manisan Alein, in Ben Noach Muzar Alein. If a Bezdin of Yisrael does not kill on it, a Ben Noach is not Muzar on it. What's going on? Let me tell you. What's it coming to exclude? What's it saying that a guy will be okay with? I'll tell you, the least Avodah Zarah thing that you could think of has got to be our case. It makes sense to say that the thing that's being remayit, this is like I said, the least possible scenario that you could think that you do something related to Avodah Zarah, but still you should have a reason to pater yourself, and that would be making Avodah Zarah but not serving it. So if that's the case, then there's no one who holds that someone who made an avodah zarah without bowing to it would be chayav. And my Papa says no. I have another quote unquote minor avodah zarah thing, and we can say that's what it's coming to be mine. Lemute gifa fanisha, to exclude somebody who he's not doing hishtachavo. He's not bowing to it.
Why do you think he loves it? What?
Yeah, he's respecting the avodah zarah, but the Gemara is going to ask right away.
The way that avodah zarah is working.
So the Gemara is going to talk about that right away. Back to the Gemara. What kind of hugging and kissing? If this is the normal way that you serve the avodah zarah, Barakatalu is chayiv, because the normal way that you serve avodah zarah, a yid in such a case would also be chayiv. So the guy would also be chayiv. It's coming to me, so you don't serve the avodah zarah this way. And this guy just loves the avodah zarah, gives it a kiss, gives it a hug, but
Who makes up what the service of avodah zarah is? You said
avodah zarah people do.
Say something, right? People make their own thing.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the end of the Gemara over here. We're going to come up with it again in Mitzvah Shem on Zayin Mad Aleph. But right now we're going to switch topics a little bit. So the Gemara says, Dinin, Bnei Noach, if good. You're telling me that one of the 7 mitzvahs Bnei Noach is making a system of justice. Is that even true? Is that one of the 7? Vatani London Praisa. Esther mitzvahs and Tzavi Yisrael and Mara. When the Yidden were going out of Mitzrayim, before they even got to Har Sinai, they were in Mara, and they got 10 mitzvahs. What were the 10 mitzvahs? Sheva Shkibu Alein Bnei Noach. The 7 mitzvahs Bnei Noach. By Sifa Alein, they added on them, besides those 7, 3 more. Dinin is Dinin. It's our thing that we're talking about. The Shabbos, the Kibbutz Avim. And how do we know these 3 things? Din and Ksiv, by the pasuk over there says Sham Samay Chaykum Mishpat. Chaykum Mishpat is Dinim, right? Shabbos Kibbutz and Kibbutz Avim. Shabbos Kibbutz Avim. The Ksiv, it says by the second Luchos, it says that Hashem says Shem Hashem Shabbos Lekachay Kasher Tzivcha Hashem Lekach, like Hashem commanded you. And then it says Kabbalah Sivich Besimcha Kasher Tzivcha Hashem Lekach, like Hashem commanded you. Where did Hashem command you this? Hashem commanded you this in Mara. V'amar Yehuda Kasher Tzivcha B'Mara, like Hashem commanded you in Mara. So the pasuk is saying that by Har Sinai, Hashem is saying, I'm repeating these mitzvahs that you already had by Mara. So what do you see? So you see that there are 10. And you see that 3 of the 10, 7 of the 10 are the Shem Mitzvah Bnei Noach.
Right.
And the other 3, one of them is Dinin. That means Dinin is not one of the 7.
So how do you replace it? What do you replace it?
Yeah. So Rav Nachman Rav Baravua leNitzrucha leEida veEida Masra. No, really Dinin is one of the 7 Mitzvah Bnei Noach. When it says that Yidden got an extra one of Dinim, that means the specific ways that a Yid does a Bezdin. That you have Eida, you have 23 Dinim for Dinei Nefashes, the Eidim, you have to have 2 Eidim, of the Shnai Eidim, the Asra, you have to have Asra. None of these halachas apply by Goyim. So it's coming to tell you these halachas.
That's the 7. That's the missing thing.
That's the 8th thing. Right. In other words, it's
you
true.
Have the regular 7.
You have the regular 7, which includes Dinin.
Right.
But you have to have a system of justice. We won't get so detailed. And the one that says the 8th is Eid of Masra, to telling us all the halachas that a Yid specifically has in Dinin. In fact, Gemara, Yahafi, if that's the case, the language of the Brisa is sure. My Vaisifa Lein Dinin. What does it mean? They added on them Dinin. They added on them Dinin is mashma, it's the laws. But this is not the laws. This is how you do the dayanim. This is how you do the court case.
You set it up.
Right? So Rava says, no. I needed to tell you Dinei Knesses. The new edition of Dinin is the halachas of Knesses. Because Goyim don't have Knesses. Only Yidden have Knesses. Practic Gemara, Kati Vaisifo Bidin in Doile. So it shouldn't have said Bidin Vaisifu Dinim. It should say Vaisifu Bidinim, which is mashma in the halachas of the dinim that you had. We added on more, right? Mm-hmm. So what's Vaisifu Lein Dinim? This is coming to tell you a special thing by Yidden. We had this in the first parak. It's a mitzvah that every country, every city should have its own bezdin. right? And that was the addition that they did in Mara. In fact, Mara B'nei Noach don't have this mitzvah, they do. But Tanya, we learned in the Brayso, Shem Shem Savi Yisrael Leishibat Yedinim Chol Plach Plach Chol Yever Year. Just like Yidden have to make in every country and in every city, they have to make Bat Yedinim. Chach L'Sav B'nei Noach Leishibat Yedinim Chol Plach Plach Chol Yever Year. They also need to have that. Ela Marava Aitana Tanvim Nashu. This title of this Brayso, it said that there were 10, 7 B'nei Noach plus 3 more, and 1 was Yedinim. Is a totally different Tana who argues with what we said in our Brayso with the 7 mitzvah B'nei Noach. The Mafik Da. He takes out Daled Chav, that stands for Dinin. Daled is Dinin. Chav is Birchas Hashem, the Chav of Birchas Hashem. So he takes out those 2 from the 7. Va'ayil Sach, and he adds in
Samach and Chav.
yes, Siros, the castration thing we mentioned before, according to one Mangyana, and Chav is Kalayim. That you can't breed animals together or breed trees together. And where do we see this? In 1 second, and according to him, Dinan was not one of the 7. So it says they had 7 in Mara, plus they gave 3 more, and 1 of the 3 was Dinan. The Tana of Menashe, Sheva mitzvahs mitzav b'nei Noach. The Tana of Menashe says there were 7 mitzvahs that b'nei Noach had. Avodah Zarah, we had that before. Gilei Rice, we had that before. Shvichas Dam and murder, we had before. Gezel, we had before. Dever Menachai, we had before. That's 5. However, it adds on the last 2 we didn't have before. Simus and Klayim, we didn't have this as part of the 7. Castration and Klayim are added. That's Tana of Menashe. Rabbi Yehuda says another shita. It's part of the Brayso. The only Isra Adam Rishon had was only Avodah Zarah. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, okay, so you know what? Let's pick up from Rabbi Yehuda over here, Mitzvah Shem, Nasha, tomorrow, Bez Hashem. Okay?
Out of someone I know, he was struggling in business, he had an elevator business.
Yeah.
Many years ago. Kitzur,